Welcome to the podcast, Chanel.
Thank
I am
you.
so happy to have you here as someone who has just taken the leap of faith and joined me on release. And I know it is such a big deal to get people on the podcast to speak, but I love when I asked you, you said, you know what? I actually just wrote it down on my vision to manifest being on a podcast. And then I dropped into your messages saying, hey, would you be keen?
I really did. When I knew you were doing podcasts, I was like, I'm going to be on that. I just kind of knew. Yeah, it's awesome to be here today with you.
I
Thank you.
love that. I love that. And you just so beautifully stepped into this work of processing your emotions. And I would love to share with people your journey and what led you to working with me. And then we'll talk about some of the shifts and experiences that you had that were far beyond just with your health.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Cool. So can you tell
So,
us a little bit about, yeah, who you are, where you're from, what you do?
yeah, absolutely. I am currently 30. I live in Christchurch, New Zealand, and I've been working as a community support worker for about 10 years now. And So that's kind of like the basis of me in the background. And then when I came to just find you, I was actually really unwell at the time, which you know all of this, with ulcerative colitis, type 1 autoimmune hepatitis, and then an extra primary sclerosing cholangitis, which kind of my doctor's label was like a trio, so a connected trio. So inflammation of the large bowel, the liver, and the liver bile ducts. This reflared on a big holiday in 2025, which was really disappointing. And when I was searching for kind of answers for this, I got really desperate, and my mum actually happened to recommend your book to me. And I thought, oh, okay, cool. I'll just give it a read. And I absolutely fell in love with it. And I thought, I have to work with this person. I would literally do anything to work with this person. Not like, I mean, okay, maybe there was a little bit of desperation there, but also because I knew deep down that this was exactly what I've been looking for a long time. And I think just the timing of everything that happened ended up being perfect. So there's that. And then when we worked together, it was just transformational. Yeah, how much do you
Can
want
I
me
take
to get
it?
into it?
Yeah, or can I take a step back? Just
Yeah.
the journey of, um, yeah, finding me and being presented the book. I'd love to know a little bit about your mum and you, because you shared with me when I did connect with you about getting diagnosed with the autoimmune hepatitis and then the couple of other things as well. And I guess just the mentality around conventional and natural healthcare. Would you be okay to go into that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I grew up in a family that was very pro holistic healthcare, and so when I came to getting diagnosed, this was quite a big shock for my family, and we had to just go on this journey, I think, together. And there was a lot of lessons learned for both of us, for everyone in my family about this. I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you actually, so this will be news to you, but when I was first diagnosed, I actually initially declined medication. And this actually just caused me to get significantly worse. And then I ended up having no choice but to surrender to that. And then the medication worked, and that was kind of like a big, I guess, grief process for me because it kind of got me wondering, what does this mean? I've always been pro holistic medicine. I wasn't really a huge fan of conventional medicine, and now suddenly it's working amazingly for me.
And we're going to touch on that a little bit more. Can I ask, what kind of symptoms did you have with all of these diagnoses? What was, yeah, the pain that you felt?
Yeah, do you mean physical symptoms?
Yeah. Or how it affected you, just mentally, emotionally.
Before I even, had what I would call my first flare, I actually had what I assumed was IBS. I didn't even go to a doctor about it for about a few years beforehand, and I just kind of navigated it. I very much ignored the symptoms. And if I was having a bad day, I would just kind of just have a rest and then carry on. But I never kind of thought, oh, I'll go get checked. And then it just got so bad that like I was forced to go to a doctor.
Mm,
This was also on an overseas holiday, which
right.
we spoke about. Yeah, so I got back, and normally kind of the IBS flares would resolve themselves, and they didn't this time. So I went to a doctor, and they just did some routine blood tests, and this is when we actually found the hepatitis. So, which was shocking to me because I just thought, oh, I've just got IBS this whole time, but actually it
Mm,
was significantly worse than that. So yeah, we went on just a journey of doing more tests. It was probably a year long of just doing tests, finding out what was going on along that journey. That's when we found that the liver bile ducts were also inflamed.
hmm.
And I was told that this was an untreatable condition and that it may or may not resolve on its own, but at this stage it was untreatable. And then the ulcerative colitis was actually the last thing we found. So, and we found it because I had continued to decline medication, and I just got so sick and so unwell that I had to go to hospital. I was like, this sounds very dramatic, but I was literally dying. And I remember seeing a form from the doctor who had labelled my form as emergency. So that's how kind of bad it got.
Mm.
Um, and I would say that was like the start of my health and well-being journey was that day because, I accepted the medication and it worked. And that was
How
like,
long ago was that? Because you're 30 now.
yeah, I'm 30 now. So it was in 2000, it was between 2017 and 18 that this happened. I can't remember exact dates, but I remember going into hospital like a few weeks after Christmas. I tried to like force myself to get through Christmas. Yeah.
Mm.
And then I thought, I can't do this anymore. And yeah, took myself up to hospital. And yeah, that was kind of that. Like,
So you were
yeah.
late teens, early 20s.
Yeah, I probably was about 20 or 21
Mm,
at the
okay.
time. Yeah.
And then did you say the medications worked for you and then they would stop working?
Yeah, so this is where it kind of gets a bit interesting for me and probably for everyone else is that it wasn't really that the medication stopped working, it's that I ended up having a side effect of one of the medications. So, one of the medications I was on put you at risk of cervical cancer, and I got a cervical smear test done in, I think it was 2023, and it came back positive, and they said that I had to go and get what they call the LETS procedure, which is burning off the cells that were probably going to turn cancerous. So because of that reason, my doctor said, oh, I want to take you off this medication. But this medication was stopping me from my immune system from reacting to the other medication I was on because I was on two. And so I had to come off both of them. And then I ended up on a new one, which we discovered a year later wasn't actually working very well. And this was the one I was on when I was on my trip overseas. And the
Mm,
reason I say it's interesting is because, we've talked about, if it's not your health, it's something else in your life when you've got a full emotional cup. And I could see how, even though the medication worked for me, messages were still trying to come through in other ways, and I was continuing to ignore them.
yeah.
So
And
that's,
so
yeah.
I love that. Because when I was speaking to you, something that we've had a chat about is it was the way that you saw your pain and life and how everything was intertwined that let me know that you were like one of the perfect people to do this emotional work. Because recently I've been sharing online and I had this realization, and yours story was one of them that I shared on a masterclass, on the Missing Link masterclass, is that as I was sharing these stories, none of these people came to me saying, what is the emotion behind my condition?
Yeah,
And we did actually get an opportunity to chat. And there's just this feeling of knowing that I've got to deal with something in my life. I've got to deal with emotions because I've literally tried everything else. So what
yeah,
was the pattern that you realized? You've noted the overseas trip a couple of times. Can you go
yeah.
into that?
Yeah, I know. I noticed that there was the overseas trip, and I think that, I mean, this might be far-fetched thinking, but my assumption was that, or like opinion on it was that, because this was something I wanted to do, and I think something that is still in my future is to do some kind quite serious overseas traveling. This was almost like, you know, my body's way of telling me you need to sort this out because if you don't, this is going to keep happening. Because I kept thinking, if I'm overseas and this happens, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And so I
And
think,
rather than my body's not telling me I shouldn't be going overseas and
yeah,
that this is
yeah,
out of alignment.
yeah, I think it's telling me, right, like there's an issue in the background and we want you to get on top of it. So I would say, yeah, I hope that makes sense. I think my body was is, like genuinely been trying to speak to me all these years, and I have just been ignoring it.
Yeah,
Which would be
amazing.
you, yeah,
I'd love to go into some of the patterns and the deeper awareness that you came to as well in a moment. But can you talk about how it felt saying yes to yourself, to committing to actually going on this journey of processing your emotions, but not actually really knowing what it was going to look like?
yeah. So this was really interesting for me because I absolutely came to you with the distress of my health. I was just like, I just need to I was at a point where I was like, I just want to make peace with it. Like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of obsessing over it because I felt like it was an obsession for me in the background. And then I learned from you all these other things. Like, we talked a lot about relationships and we talked a lot about my own like patterns in the background. And we talked a lot about like honoring one's life purpose and things like that. And I was thinking, God, this is stuff that I just never thought I would dive into. But ever since I've worked with you, I'm like, this is just so much clearer for me. Like,
Mm.
it's not just about, doing the right thing for my body. It's actually doing the right thing for myself as a person.
Yeah, and sometimes when there's pain, which is understandable, we can get so hyper focused on one area. So pain happens in all areas of the life, right? Not
Mm,
just physical, but yours was a physical health issue.
yeah.
And then sometimes because we're so focused on it, we can actually amplify it, or we do too much when actually we need to pull back and do less.
Mm,
And that's where I love just helping people start to open up the space to be able to tap into thinking more than a few days or a few weeks ahead and thinking of what's possible. But sometimes it's very difficult if people have that full emotional cup. So I say, just come in. We're just going to start with processing. We're just going to start with processing your emotions.
yeah.
Mm,
It was just so interesting because, my headspace was in such a fix-it mentality when I met you. And then I left thinking, this has actually been such a gift, which I never thought I would get to that place of thinking, oh, my health conditions are a gift. But I can see that now in like multiple ways. I know I mentioned to you, like I was chatting to a friend and we were talking about how, any of us could have gone down this road of like alcohol and drug addiction and we didn't. And I was thinking, I would have gone down that road had I not been unwell. I could see myself going there. So there was that, but just also like understanding that when I take a step back, people are inspired from my stories. And I'm like, oh my God, I've gone through all this and I've been able to handle it. And I can now share that with other people who may not have
mm,
been able to handle what I have been able to.
yeah. So beautiful. Can I
Yeah,
go back to just speaking about how it felt when you entered the group and again, the journey that you just really didn't know what was going to open up. So, can you even remember? Because it was only a couple of months ago now.
yeah.
Can you remember what it felt like before we even started? and coming into the group and seeing the people and
Yeah,
introductions, histories, all that kind of stuff.
yeah, I remember feeling very anxious, which I wasn't surprised. I just with my health stuff, I felt like my nervous system was so stretched. Um, but you know, you were very like encouraging in a very positive way to share what we had experienced, share who we were, even share pictures of ourselves, which I was like, oh no, but I did anyway. And yeah, I kind of realized that, you know, with all these other people sharing, just really made me feel like I wasn't alone. And I was like, oh my goodness. And it just kind of seeing them share and then kind of me reacting to that, sharing as well, it just gave me this level of confidence that I kind of hadn't seen in myself before.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it just kind of grew from there. I tell people that this was like a transformational 6 weeks, and they're like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like I know like you can't see it yet, but I can see like this is just the beginning." And
Yeah. I talk about
yeah,
building that foundation. Like it's the
yeah,
stuff that people don't really see when a house has been built, and then all of a sudden all the walls and everything just get knocked up so fast because you've got a solid emotional foundation now.
yeah, and it just I think even that has just given me like so much confidence going forward to just know what to do and also just understand like why this has even happened to me. Even that has been an enormous gift for me because I'm like, I can utilize this in the way that I feel I'm probably supposed to.
Yeah. So
But
embracing the challenges, like there's always a message in
yeah,
this.
yeah, and it feels just right. Like it
Mm,
you know, like when you get those gut feelings, like this is actually like a good thing. And, you know,
yeah.
going on this journey of, you know, potentially helping people, inspiring people feels right for me and almost like I'm what I'm meant to be doing.
Yes.
So
Oh, I love
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And because you had my book, and that's got the basic release process on releasing and processing on people. And now we're not going to go into any specific people at all, but I'm curious, did you actually try the process that was shared in the book first at all?
yeah, I did.
Okay.
I just like gave it a go, and even then, like I don't think I was doing it properly at all, but I think it was enough to kind of start that. Like some of the like releases I attempted just kind of reduced me to tears, like big
Yeah.
tears, and yeah, even though like I don't think I was doing it properly at all because since I've done your program, I'm like, oh, there was a lot missing there. I could have
Yeah, this
really
is
like
where I
added
talk
to
about the
this.
sneaky human gets in, right? And so I've
Yeah, yeah,
been
yeah,
saying to people, it was such a big deal for me to share it in the book because I know I'm dealing with humans and everyone's going to have a different take on it. And they're just so unaware when the sneaky human gets in the way and butchers the process.
yeah,
But if it's enough and you feel drawn, I go, there's more to this. And having the conditions that you have, like the autoimmune hepatitis, the cholangitis, the ulcerative colitis, is there's a variation where we actually release on those body parts. And I
mm,
thought, hey, this is probably more of where you need to go. And I think you came in and I saw the release and I said, actually, I think this is too hard for you just now. Like, let's go
yeah,
back to something basic. I'll guide you with the basics, get that foundation, and then you'll be able to try all these variations. So I think it was only a matter of a few weeks later you then manage to go back, release on your body parts, the organs not functioning the way you desire, and actually have a conversation with them and by that time you are open enough, empty enough on that emotional cup level to be able to receive the message. That's what I saw. And then
yeah,
I saw
yeah.
so much open up. So what was the realization from these interactions, these trips, these just not even the trips overseas, but just your interactions in life? What was your biggest realization that came through?
I think there was quite a few.
Yeah, go
Um,
go for it. List them all.
yeah, well, like okay, we'll start off with like some of the smaller ones. So I was always kind of labeled as like a quiet, shy person. I mean, I've probably am quiet, but I was always labeled as shy and like you know, someone who didn't talk very much. And doing a program made me realize that's not true at all. It actually led me to a conversation with my mum, who I said, "Do I like, am I a quiet person? Am I someone who just doesn't talk in social settings? And she's like, no, you talk a lot. And I was like, what? And it just made me realize that the reason that I was so quiet in social settings was because of that full emotional cup. Stuff that I hadn't processed from my past was creeping in, kind of triggering these anxieties in me. So, like, me being quiet in social settings was actually a massive defense mechanism. I was trying
Amazing.
to
So
protect
you'd been
myself.
telling yourself a story that wasn't true.
Yeah, it's just crazy that this has been a story in my head for so long. And I'm like, oh, this is not true at all. And I've actually naturally just noticed myself just being so open with people like I've just met,
Mm.
which I'm like, wow, like this is so cool.
And it
Um,
allows, do you feel that it allows you to connect with them a lot quicker?
yeah, it allows a quicker connection and more connections, which I really love. I love connecting with people. So it's felt like this block has just cleared. So
Mm.
that's been a huge one for me. And it doesn't seem that big, but it kind of is to me because this is important to me is to be able to connect with people.
Well,
So
I loved that you would pop up and just go, wow, this has just happened. That's just happened. I'm like, that's exactly what I want you to do in this group. It's
yeah,
you come in for one thing. I want to give you that one thing, but also I say come in with intention, no expectation, leave room for magic to be able to land. What
yeah.
else happened? I don't know if you're able to talk about this. I think it's quite a positive one, but just how some people around you, you notice that they changed without having to have any conversations.
Yeah, I even noticed like, and this is where it comes like the energetics and stuff come in, right? I just noticed that people around me, like our relationships just changed or evolved in like the most positive, beautiful way. And that to me is like something, how do you even explain that to just anyone? So that was just, it's just been so amazing.
And that started with you changing yourself and taking
Yeah,
responsibility.
yeah, it wasn't even from a conversation with these people often. It
Mm.
was literally just me working through your process and just watching it evolve around me. It
Yeah.
was just the coolest thing ever. It was just because it's just one of those things, right? That you're like, this just can't be explained like through
Yeah.
science right now. So it's just like, it's just so cool being able to watch it unfold.
Yeah. Oh, well, for you to experience it and for you to show people what's possible.
This
What
is
else
it.
landed? Boundaries is the big one that's coming up
Yeah,
for me.
boundaries was a big one, and you're amazing with helping me understand like what it actually means to set boundaries and how much I was holding back with my own communication and how much I was coming from like a desperate place with some of my relationships and things, and seeing how much that was causing blocks and connection as well. That was a hard thing for me to hear, but so, so valuable because going forward, I'm thinking, oh wow, like I can kind of see how I've been like an issue in my own relationships. It's quite easy to fall into a trap of just blaming other people. But being able to take a step back and actually take ownership of the part that I've played has just been so valuable. And I've seen, like, yeah, again, like relationships evolve because of my own realizations that I've had.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I just didn't really understand the whole, actually, when you set a boundary with people, what are you saying no to? Because I'd often just be like, don't talk to me or I'm overwhelmed and just have no explanation for the person and
Yeah.
not even an explanation for myself. And I can see
Yeah.
how that is so confusing for other people.
Yeah, yeah, because a lot of people teach boundaries and they say you can just say no, and no is one sentence.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but if we communicate as humans, sometimes it's really nice to have some understanding and not expect someone to read our mind. And I just love, again, you had built enough capacity to try and explore this new way of being, this new identity of someone who says no. And if you're open to hearing why, this is what's going on for me. And then people had more compassion for you. So just noticing where we're actually doing things and creating more protective layers because we feel the energy of when someone might not be able to handle the truth or handle something, we protect them because we worry, they've got a health condition. But I just want people to be strong enough in themselves that they can just have honest conversations because we would all be able to move forward so much quicker. But then the question is, okay, is this person projecting their stuff on me or is it me that actually needs to take responsibility?
Yeah. These are questions I'd never really stopped and asked myself. I kind of was just, I genuinely feel like I've been just winging relationships my whole life. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I think just being able to even talk about that has been a big one. And I can see how, like, that's been a thing that I've needed to work through. I can see, like, old, we'll call it traumas from, like, my childhood and things creeping up, affecting the way I have communicated with people and acted with people. I was terrible at, like, either avoiding conflict or just being very explosive. Often I'd just avoid it more than anything because I was like, I can't hurt anyone because, in that explosive state, I was just terrified of hurting people.
But then you're hurting yourself, right?
Exactly. It was
And
just
so
like,
this
no
is,
one wins here. Yeah.
yes, yeah. And the person that you're angry with doesn't hurt them. And so this is something I'd love to just explore from my perspective. Is that okay?
hmm Yeah, absolutely.
Because I use the example of having that full emotional cup that you move through life experiences and your emotions start to build up. You pour the water into the cup and you can handle it, you can compensate it for it until you can't anymore. And usually what happens is we suppress emotions because one, we don't know how to express and process them, or two, we don't give them space and time.
Mm.
And so I usually use the I don't know how to express them in a healthy and safe way. I use the example of anger. And also, metaphysically, I know that if you've got issues with your liver, there's something about anger. But
Mm.
just knowing that doesn't really help people. And I keep on saying there's just so much more to the root cause of emotions, of anger. We've got to do something with it. We've got to process emotions. We've got to be able to decipher the message, which you were able to do. But how do you process anger? It's because of these past experiences where they weren't held, where they weren't expressed, where they were shut down, or you shut them down, or it was explosive and harmful. So that's how you started to become more comfortable with holding anger. And underneath anger, I think there was actually a lot of sadness. That's what I see for a lot of people generally is the anger hides sadness. So then that's the deeper layer that we've got to get to and feel. And even if you're just crying, I think you said that you were really in quite a few tears with some of your releases, but in a
Yeah.
good way.
Yeah.
Like you don't even have to identify tears as sadness. It's just whatever the emotion is. So this is where I really want to get people to move away. I mean, I talk about identifying stored emotions, but then when you come into my world, let's go far beyond that. So, yeah, identify the emotion, but link it to an experience, process it, but you don't have to identify it. Like we're so used to labeling, diagnosing things that we do it with our emotions as well. It's like they're
Yeah.
just feelings, they're just sensations that want to move through your body and they're not
Yeah.
right or wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I completely agree. Like, I came into your program as well, having some sort of understanding about, like, metaphysical stuff, and I was a big fan of Louise Hay's books, so that taught me a lot about it. But yeah, I agree. I didn't know what to do with that. Like, I
Mm,
knew that the liver represented anger, even under Chinese medicine, right? This like the same thing. The liver represents anger, but I didn't know what to do with that information. I was just like,
yeah.
okay, I'm really angry. Now what? Do
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then people
yeah,
go, okay, well, I've just got to sit with the anger. It's like, well, but how are you going to sit with the anger?
yeah, exactly. Like, what am I even doing with this? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
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 So
I
it's
joke
just
that like the metaphysical books will tell you to journal on it, meditate, write a letter, burn it, bury it. And it's like, okay, where's it gotten you? Probably still searching. And it's people like you. I'm so grateful you keep searching. And it's such a difficult thing to articulate. And I say, energetics experience, that's where it's at. And just be curious. You're going to get something out of this, no
yeah.
matter what. Like if you just take that leap of faith and actually trust yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did all those things. I was journaling, meditating, like all the things, and yeah, I got nowhere. And I was like, gosh, like, but yeah, you take it this just enormous step like forward, and in a way that I just never even knew about. I really feel like what was missing for me when I met you was that information. just that, okay, I'm going to help you. You were, me being you, you're like, I'm going to help you understand, like, there's actually messages underneath here. It's not just about like the emotions. It's like, right, what are they trying to tell you? What's the message coming through here? Why is this happening to you? This
Yeah.
is where, like, people I've worked with in the past haven't really been able to lead me to this direction.
Mm.
So, yeah, that's kind of just been eye-opening for me. Like, I still feel like I don't even know how to put this into words for people because it was just so transformative in a way that I can't even describe.
Well, you're doing a really great job, and that's why I wanted you to come on the podcast because I don't think it's just a single word like, what do you do? People are going to hear it in your energy and your voice and just the flow of it. Now, there was a couple of
Yeah,
other cool things that
yeah,
landed as well around your work that was a bit stuck, and then it just
yeah.
magically landed. Can you talk about what you were wanting, but it just wasn't possible, and then what happened
Yeah, so I wanted more work. I really
as a
wanted
support worker?
Yeah, as a support worker, I wanted more work, but I wanted more with like specific clients. I didn't, we can do a lot of casual work, but I work with two people, and these two people are people, we get on really well, we connect well, and this is why it works so well. But yeah, things happened. One of them lost hours, one of them didn't have work available for me just because that was just how it was at the time. And then, literally, in the space of a few weeks, one of them like suddenly had double the amount of work for me, and also the other one regained hours for me, and both of them were, coming towards me asking, "Can you please do more work?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"What the hell? This is crazy."
I love that. And because it was actually like a funding thing as well, wasn't it? So that's not something that you can actually influence or ask for.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's literally, it's like out of their control as well to a degree.
Yeah.
They're working, some of them are working with multiple people. They can't just kind of up and ditch them for me. You have to make it like work nicely. But it just did. It was so weird, but
Yeah.
like in the best way.
And although we didn't really go into the vision and manifestation piece, and that's kind of comes after,
Mm.
it's like you just create space for these opportunities and then just recognize how intentional you can be to create these opportunities and always ask yourself, if I'm not getting what I want, why is that? And that gets revealed in your releases, why you're maybe blocking what you want, need, or desire.
Yeah.
And also, whether or not you're actually open to receiving it. So that had you um, questioning, am I meant to like step out and do something on my own? But just through these handful of weeks, you were able to rejig that and just see the opportunity that you actually had in your work rather than creating more instability for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I realize, like, I've always known that this job works for me at the moment, and like, I'm good at it and I enjoy it as well. But I think what I needed to understand was this wasn't a case of, oh, get a new job or, don't do this anymore. It's like work with the time that you have with this job at the moment.
Yeah. And the opportunities and the
Yeah,
relationships.
yeah, it's for me, it's really easy work, but I also enjoy it. But, I have really supportive clients who want me to, do well in life and do the things that I feel I need to do. So these are things that I can easily work on in the background. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, like this is the perfect opportunity for me to go off. And, I've talked to a few of my really close friends about starting maybe my own social media page and just, you know, talking to people on a bigger level than just my friends, and just
And I would
getting
absolutely
involved.
encourage you to do that because when you were speaking to me, I was like, this lady, you were 29 when I met you, you're
Yeah,
30 now. You had your birthday in release, which is so
yeah,
cool. Um, you're onto something, but I just want you to back yourself with it. And it doesn't make sense to everyone. But I've been doing this work for a long time. And like you do have beautiful stories to share. And yeah, that's the thing. Like coming on here, that's a big step. And then put it out to the wide world. Like you get to share and release and see how much value you were to other people because you'd
yeah,
release, you'd manifest something. And
yeah,
then it's like, all right, and I would use you as an example. It's like, look, she's showing up. She's showing up multiple times a week. And she's on
Yeah,
these calls and she's asking questions and she's getting more depth.
yeah. I just remember in our consult, you said, like if you want to get something out of this, you have to do the work. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah. And
just
I
kind of,
said,
it's very black and white.
yeah, yeah. So this is before release, just to check in, like, do I actually feel like my work's going to help you? And I said, as long as you lean in, you show up, you ask questions, you do the process, and you're okay to to open to critical feedback, then yeah, I really feel like you will get results. I can't promise it, but you've got to decide to show up differently.
Yeah, yeah. I just thought, I've got nothing to lose here. And I just told myself, you're going to dedicate everything to the 6 weeks. Like, not in an obsessive fix it way, but just in a, like, whatever Jen recommends, you're going to do it.
Yeah,
And yeah, it just proved to me, like, this works when you do the work. So,
yeah,
yeah, just like another thing as well is like just accepting that with my job and things like that, just accepting that this is going to help me like jumpstart my life. I don't know how to
mm,
explain that better, but that was another
yeah,
thing that release helped me see though, is because, yeah, just that black and white thinking that I had of just like have to be here or have to end this thing or this has to, or even my health has to be fixed before I do the thing and stuff. And release really helped me understand actually you can just start now and you
yes.
don't have to be in a perfect place. You don't have to kind of have everything together. Like, just start now because maybe that's part of it.
Yes, absolutely. And gosh, we haven't even talked about the results in your health.
Yeah, yeah, that's,
So,
yeah,
I don't tell people to go and get blood tests, but there's a handful of people that just happen to have a doctor's appointment in the midst at the right time during
yeah,
release. So, what happened? Because, yeah, where were you at with some of these markers, if you can talk
yeah,
about
right.
that? And then where are you now?
Yeah, so at the very end of December, so yeah, I found out in, I think it was September or October, that all of my autoimmune stuff had reflared. It was so bad. This was the first time as well that I experienced like low iron and hemoglobin, which is horrible. Like horrible in ways I cannot describe. I know you've worked with someone who's experienced this as well, and yeah, I can fully appreciate how stressful it is. So I was dealing with that on top of an autoimmune reflare, and just yeah, I was really feeling like I was struggling. So, I was trying to navigate that and I was really trying to work on like my diet and things like that, which I don't regret. I think that that was like an amazing thing. But then I went back for more blood tests in December and I
Oh,
was
so
told,
but you're what? So you had chronic iron deficiency, but then you also
yeah,
had systemic inflammation.
yeah,
Those are
systemic
inflammatory.
inflammation. So just like everything was inflamed. My bowel, and my liver, like were both
Yeah.
just
So then liver
inflamed.
enzymes have always been elevated.
Um, yeah, they were the tests that I got were showing, they were moderately inflamed.
Yeah.
And then when I went back for blood tests in December, just to see how everything was doing, the liver enzyme tests were even worse. Some of them were measuring over 1,000. Like, so anyone who understands this knows this is quite serious. And I
Mm,
was like, what? Like, are you kidding me? I was so, and like my hemoglobin had dropped again after like a iron infusion and stuff. So not only was I terrified for my life, I was just feeling awful as well because of the low iron. So all of this was going on. Like
mm,
December, Christmas, it was a horrible time for me.
mm,
It was around that time that my mum recommended your book, which was
hmm.
interesting. And so when I found out in December that everything was still bad, my doctor decided to change my medication and put me back on steroids. And things started to improve from that. But I thought I need to hold this because it just could go wild just so easily again. If my hemoglobin drops and my iron drop again, that's just going to affect the inflammation. It just ends up in a
Mm,
cycle.
mm,
So yeah, I found your book. I read that, and then I thought I need to do this. I need to do this
hmm.
program. And I remember meeting you, and I remember telling you like, "Yep, I'm gonna just find a way to make this work." I didn't even have the money for your program at the time. I was just like, yeah. Oh, another thing I haven't told you yet.
Yes.
um, yeah, I ended up reaching out to a family member and I was just like, I'm so desperate to do this program. And then they're like, right, I'm gonna like give you money. So like a
Mm,
family member of mine like gifted me $1,000.
mm,
And I was like, I'm
amazing.
so supposed to do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, jumped on your program, did your release program, and then I happened to have a doctor's appointment right near the end, and they said that they were reading out the results and like, oh, this looks great. And they're like, all your systemic inflammation is normal. And they were just reading it out, all these numbers, just normal, normal, normal. Like my hemoglobin was normal again. My liver enzymes had dropped dramatically. Like they had dropped more than half, which is
Mm,
significant for such a short amount of time. And yeah, it was just like crazy, like results to just have in such a short amount of time. And yeah, they dropped my medication level because they were that happy with everything. Yeah, like how do you even explain this to people? It's
I
just,
know. I love that.
yeah,
And I saw you
yeah,
did a positive release. Like everyone goes, what? Positive release? But
yeah,
you ended up on your own will just doing a positive release on the medication. You've gone from someone who just didn't want to touch it, not really happy taking it, to really embracing it and seeing it as a form of support and being able to receive it.
mm,
So in the
yeah,
past, you had side effects from medication, and I say this is chapter 3 in my book that anyone can download for free. Is all about think about your emotional foundation and landscape that these medications are landing on. They just want to help you. You got to be open to receiving the support.
yeah. And see, this is like another thing I could go into that I've like learned from working with you is like that act of actually being able to receive. Was something I was so not good at. Like I was amazing at giving to people, but when as soon as people wanted to give back, I would just freeze or I would try and find a way to repay them. I could never just say yes and leave it at that and just I just learned like through your program to ask for things over time, and it was interesting that then the work started coming through and things like that, like this is what I had asked for and I was now receiving it and I was just practicing just sitting with it.
Yeah.
And just like even recently, with the increase in fuel prices, I just spoke to my work and I was like, I would like some fuel vouchers, please. And they were like, okay.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So just like, but I was saying to my mum, like, I never would have asked for this once upon a time. I would have just dealt with it.
Mm,
But just little things like that, I'm just like, wow, like this is just so cool. Like it's like, energetically things are happening to me, but also like have also changed my behavior as well.
yeah.
So it's like I'm working together with both, which is quite cool. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The conventional, the alternative, and the energetic spiritual world that you've been brought up in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I'm,
yeah, I was brought up in that as well. So yeah, I don't know if I mentioned that yet. Like that was part of the
yes.
holistic, I was brought up in a very like spiritual household.
Yeah, I'm curious. Have you and your mum had any discussions about how you are now and the changes that you've experienced?
Yeah, yeah, like so this is I guess where the, spirituality comes into it and stuff. She's always just known that I'd be okay. It's almost like she could see like she's always just had this vision for me that like I was gonna do really well in life. And I don't know like, where that comes from, but she says it in such a calm way that it kind of suggests to me that she kind of knows. And I feel that for myself as well. Like, that I wasn't destined to have an entire life of suffering. Like I was destined to learn and have a lot of experiences and share that with people. So
Amazing.
yeah, we have had discussions about it, and she's just happy for me in the calmest way because she just knows like this was just meant for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like just meant to be okay.
Mm,
Yeah, as soon as I removed the roadblocks that I was putting up myself. But yeah,
I love that. I'm going
yeah.
to ask you a question. You've covered quite a bit of it. Um, I don't know how to phrase what you did on one of our last calls, but you volunteered it. And maybe this will help it come through. It's like, what is your biggest breakthrough? Like, what happened? Did you get what you wanted? And what's more that came through from this experience of processing your emotions?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely got more than what I wanted from the program. And I know that, like, I won't say names, but I know a few people kind of came in learning things that they just didn't expect. And that
Mm,
just seems to be like a common theme with working with you is like you come in for one thing and then you leave like this whole other person, like on this just new journey in life. Um, yeah, I think I'm not sure what else I would add to it. Was there anything else that I'd gone over in the course and stuff that I felt
well, it was just
quite
along the
important?
lines of I never knew that I was gonna like just get so connected with myself and get in touch with a version of me that actually can think about my future.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that just reminds me. I kind of realized, like, I was told when I was a child that I had leadership qualities, and I just completely brushed it off. I was like, what an absolute joke. It was just so bad. I was like, I'm not a leader. But I think doing your program kind of brought that memory back up for me, and I was able to step back and think, oh my God, yes, I do. Like, I can see how so many people have, come to me like as a source of guiding light, or like, even my brother said that I'm a calming presence for him, and he's pretty open to talking to me about a lot of his own stuff. And I thought, oh my God, there's all these people I can see who just naturally migrate to me and come to me and want to know, how would I get through this or what's my advice? And I thought, wow, like I do have leadership qualities and I don't even need to try. Like people were coming to me for, answers. And so I think that's just where like my journey has kind of taken off. And I guess that's where it's been quite transformative for me. Is I'm like, wow, like, you know, having these realizations comes with a lot of great responsibility. It just adds this motivation for me to keep doing this work and see
Mm,
what happens and be this person that people just really appreciate and not, I don't want to say need, but just, be that guide and source of inspiration for people that people are looking for.
yeah, so wonderful. I've got a few more questions for you.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
because in the past, I've gotten people on the podcast that have actually been working with me for quite a while and they've said yes to the stuff beyond release. And I say, truly, if you're just here for emotional work, everything is in release and it's there to support you. You don't need to say yes to the next phase. You have said yes to the next phase, which is
Yeah.
where we get really intentional about the vision and the manifestation piece. And I remember you saying, oh, maybe I should wait for a few months and see what else lands. I'm like, can I please get you on as someone who's just done release and that's it?
Yeah.
Because people say to me, the results you share are so big and it makes it out that this is available in 6 weeks. I'm like, it truly is. It truly is available for people when we do the intensive 6 weeks, because there's a few things that I've changed with release recently that I'm trialing out. It truly is available in 6 weeks, and some people decide to stop there. And some people, I think, they pull their plug on the plug on themselves too early. Like
Yeah.
this next piece can actually really amplify healing on another level. But
Yeah.
I just trust that people feel drawn into release. They feel drawn into something like the next step. But we only discuss that when you've got a cup that's a little bit empty in the capacity to actually hear what happens beyond emotional releasing. Like it's always part of you, but it doesn't have to be so hard. So a couple of things that I wanted to ask you, and this is on behalf of people who might be contemplating release, is I never mention the group size because I say to people when you're asking the group size, what you're worried about is whether or not you're actually going to get my support and my responses.
Yeah.
And I say we need a group because we need the variety and the different personalities and the different stories that are happening. So,
Yeah.
what was your experience of being in the group?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was like perfect, and like you and Kylie were like amazing at responding to all of us. Like I was explaining to people like the reason like this was such an intense 6 weeks was because if you had a question, it was answered so quickly.
And
Like I
Kylie's my
just
head coach, just for other people to
yeah, yeah,
who
yeah.
helps and supports and just has a different energy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it was like you guys were just like a perfect combination to bring to the group. And yeah, I thought it was like perfect. And if you're coming into a space like this with you and you want the help, you definitely get it in the 6 weeks. Like you can
Mm.
get as much as you want out of it. That was my,
Yeah, I
experience
just
with
see
it.
that most people aren't used to being able to ask so much, or it's that whole like, this is the issue. Like,
I was
I want to
shocked, to be
give and
honest.
like,
Yeah,
I want you to be able to receive. But yeah, so much more gets revealed when you're actually in the experience and we can talk about it in the experience. And I want to talk to each individual about their experience, but then that's where I
yeah,
have to trust when you're ready, like maybe you do just want to sit as a fly on the wall, but when you're ready, you ask, and then I know you're more open to receiving or ready to receiving.
yeah. I got way more than I expected out of it. Like when we all shared our, well, not all of us, but
Mm,
whoever felt comfortable to share their history,
mm.
and you were like, I'm gonna go through and respond to this. I was shocked at the response I got. Like it was like an essay, like in the best way.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you were like,
yeah,
I'm gonna put all of my thought into this response, and I
yeah,
was like, wow, like this wasn't just like a, hey, good on you, like thanks for
yeah, yeah,
sharing.
yeah, exactly. No way. And
Yeah,
yeah, and just on the history piece, it is optional. A lot of people do share, and you don't need to read other people's stuff if you're worried about how many people are in the group. I say if you're overwhelmed, just focus on your own stuff and let me give you feedback and just focus on that. And I'll tag you in other people's things because you're all here because you've all got something to teach one another.
yeah,
But again, do you have the capacity to be able to receive all these messages from other people?
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, the history is an optional thing, but you do share it. And that's
yeah,
where I just trust you share what you're ready for me to be
yeah,
able to interpret and guide you on.
yeah,
I got another question
yeah, yeah,
because it's about as I guess people have these resistances that come up to release, and I know I've been running it for many years now, and people just have to watch it. So I so appreciate you sharing.
mm.
Can't think of what it was now.
Oh no.
It's something about the group. Okay, no, there was what would you say? What would you say to someone who's just considering release?
Do it. Like I like I can see how valuable this work is for everyone. After doing this work, I'm like, wow, like everyone could benefit from working with you. Um, yeah, that would be my advice to everyone. And like I've even found myself, when people talked about their struggles, like I know that maybe some of the topics and stuff we go into might be way too hard for them to comprehend yet. You know how we like some people are like, oh, I just never would have been convinced, and that it's too beyond for them to even consider. I've even found myself like thinking, oh, you should look into like trauma release, like evidence based, even though
Yeah.
I know what I'm thinking deep down, but I'm just like I'm encouraging people. I'm like dive into it, like
Mm,
in whatever way or whatever capacity you can handle. Like this is the best thing for everyone.
yeah.
Is
Absolutely, because
to
I say not everyone can handle my work, right? And so if
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
curious, then trust that.
yeah,
Someone asked me a question the other day about whether or not I screen people before they're making such an investment in themselves. And I said, it's just really interesting. Unique is just, release has just screened people naturally. Like I haven't had a
yeah,
horrible experience working with anyone. And this is where it sounds weird, but I think the way it's written, the way it's presented, it either scares people off or it gets them so curious. And I want people to be curious. And yeah, the people in the group are amazing, aren't they? They all bring
yeah.
something. I say it's not a giant pity party, guys.
No, it
And I
wasn't
don't
like,
let you get away with being the victim in this space.
yeah, no, it was like, it felt nothing but inspiring because, like, when you're seeing other people kind of just smashing through the work, you're like, oh, yes, like, I'm going to do this too. You kind of feel like you're in it together.
Mm,
Yeah, you learn so much about these people, and yeah, you really feel like you're on like it's like you're on this gigantic like hike together, but you're like encouraging each other, but you're not like,
yeah,
but
yeah.
just
You're
yeah,
just
but
there.
yeah,
The
you're
energy's
just
still
there.
felt.
Yeah, yeah, it's like, if you're like like on a hike and but you're struggling, but someone's like, trailing ahead, you're like, right, I'm gonna keep going,
Yeah,
because if this person can do it, I can do it. And
I love that
it
metaphor.
was yeah, yeah, it was like that sort of energy in the group was what it was like for me. And it was just so cool, like just watching all these different people from all different like places in life just work through this stuff exactly the same as you. And it was, yeah, I just think it was just amazing energy. And yeah, I almost think like maybe the people that you get in your group are a product of your own manifestations. Like it's like you're
Yeah,
manifesting having like the perfect sort of people to work with. You remember how you said that, you try and be like the perfect patient.
yeah.
How would you want to be treated?
Yeah, I
So
want to be told,
yeah.
like, how can I show up? What questions should I be asking you to get the most out of you? Just tell me, like, who do I need to be? Because I'm not that person right now. Or sometimes it is like, can you just affirm that I am on the right track? Because I want you to enjoy working with me. Because as a practitioner, having seen thousands of patients and clients in the past, it's
Mm,
like I know the people that I really like to work with. And yeah, you just notice those patterns over your time. And
yeah,
so I see the people that get the most out of this, and it might be a bit triggering to people, but it's like, hey, they didn't, or maybe once upon a time, like, great question. Like, what is the emotions? And that's really just the start of the journey. What is the emotions
yeah,
behind my condition? And then there comes a point where you realize that's actually not helping me. And then, yeah, hopefully you just cross paths. I want to thank your mum for giving you, well, buying my book and then
yeah,
recommending that I read it, and that even though you were going through a pretty tough time and pain with your health, that you were actually open enough to read it. And then the biggest thing is actually you reaching out to me, and you originally filled out an application for one-to-one work. And I know that that application can scare people off as well. But you took the next step, you booked a consult,
mm,
and you just did it. So I like
yeah,
I even feel a lot when people reach out to me, they never fill out the application, or they, I say there's like hundreds of applications that go out and probably only 30% land in my inbox.
yeah,
And then from that, only a tiny percentage of people actually take the leap to just book a consult call
yeah,
just to have a chat. And this
mm,
is where I'm like, you will get so much out of this chat, even though I'm not going to facilitate and do stuff for you. It's just, I want you to know what is the right next step. And sometimes it's not working with me, but
yeah,
my door's open for
yeah.
you when you really feel ready, when you don't have all these questions. I think I scare people off. It's like you can ask questions, but just be ready for like my honest answer.
Yeah, I just think people like what I've come to realize is that people are just afraid,
Yeah.
it's a hard thing to hear that maybe the way that they thought has actually been hindering them their whole life and
Mm,
opening their eyes up to a new way of thinking. It can be quite terrifying.
mm,
But yeah, I just think like I just hope I love telling people that I've done this sort of stuff because I just hope that maybe something will land for one of them. And like even a close friend of mine said that she loves hearing about, she calls it, all the unconventional stuff that I do.
mm.
I've realized people are listening even if they're afraid. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And then you just keep modeling it through embodying the work that you've done, making those changes. And that's where more people go, how? What did you do? And you're like, well, went on this, went on this journey. And it would be ideal to have people not have such the crisis or the pain in their life. But I'm glad that you did keep on searching, because
yeah,
so many people do. I say too many people give up on themselves. And unfortunately, they have tried a lot. They've spent a lot of time, they've spent a lot of money beforehand. So it becomes more challenging to say yes to themselves, but recognizing the support that's around you.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I, like if I'm honest, I was at that point of being like, what now? So
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I just kept persisting because I just had a feeling like it was going to land eventually.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it was
Well,
just amazing timing that I met you, and it just did.
that's what I
Sorry.
I absolutely trust in the timing. Don't worry, we're about to wrap up.
Cool.
Unless is there anything else that you want to share?
Um, I don't think so. I think we covered quite a bit, right? Like
Yeah,
yeah, sometimes I just start chatting and I just kind of let my brain just go off on a journey. So hopefully we
that's
cover
perfect.
everything.
That's
Yeah.
exactly how I want my podcast to be, is just conversational. So big thank you to you, Chanel. I'm so looking forward to continuing working with you and just seeing what else you're going to call into your life and yeah, the best version of yourself that's going to show up.
Yeah, me too, thank you. I'm so excited to continue sharing with you, like the things that just keep happening to me and the wins and even the challenges and just yeah, working with you on that. It's going to be
Amazing.
exciting, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
If you're interested in my signature program release, this is the program that Chanel has just been speaking about. Intermittently throughout the year, I open the doors. I will pop the link in the show notes so that you can have a look if enrollment is open. This is where I teach you my unique release process so that you can process your emotions, revisit events and experiences from your past in a safe way to be able to decipher the message behind your experience so that you can truly come to peace with your past, get unstuck, move forwards. And there is absolutely every possibility that you can activate healing on a physical, physiological, and emotional level. So, as I mentioned in this episode, it really draws people in off a feeling. Go and check it out. If doors are open, I would love to see you in the integration phase, in the active phase where you're releasing, you get guidance and support for a period of time. If it doesn't feel like it's something quite for you yet, then go ahead and start with something smaller, maybe my book, or come to something free that I am putting out there. All right. Thank you so much for listening to this episode.